Why did God give Each beam carries a pressure calculated with millimeter precision. If one gives way, everything collapses. What appears light on the outside is, in fact, an entire system containing opposing forces. LIBRA is the bridge, and the forces it contains are real. It's not just about being diplomatic. It's not just about liking art, beauty, or relationships. That's the surface. What lies beneath is an emotional structure built to feel both sides of any situation simultaneously and still have to act, choose, take a stand. Have you ever tried that? To truly feel the weight of both sides of an impossible decision and still have to turn to someone and say, "Here, this is the way." It's exhausting in a way that most people will never understand. And then begins the question you may have carried for years, in the form of a dull weariness, a feeling that life demands more of you than of others. Why? Why so much weight? Why so many impossible choices? Why God, or the universe or destiny, choose the name that makes sense to you? Why does it seem that LIBRA was placed exactly in the most difficult places, at the most painful crossroads, in situations where there is no way out that doesn't hurt? This question has an answer, but it's not simple. It will require you to let go for a moment of everything you thought you knew about what it means to be a Libra, and about what it means to carry too much weight. Because perhaps the weight wasn't a mistake. There is a pattern to Libra's trials. It's not random, it's not bad luck, it's not unresolved karma, it's a calibration pattern. Think of a goldsmith who works exclusively with pure gold. The purification process requires fire, controlled temperature, calculated pressure. And the more valuable the metal, the more intense the relationship taught you what love is not. Each impossible choice offered no clean way out. Each moment of exhaustion carried the balance of others on your own body. All of this honed something within you that now vibrates at a frequency few have access to, the ability to feel both sides without getting lost in either one. This is rare, disturbingly rare. Most people can at best tolerate the opposite side of what they believe. Libra can inhabit it, enter into the pain of someone who thinks completely differently, and still find the thread of humanity that connects the two. Not out of weakness, through specific long and silent training, built brick by brick through trials. And this is where the question changes shape. It's no longer, why so much weight? It's, what are you training to do with all this weight you've accumulated? Because Libra wasn't placed in the most difficult situations by chance. It was put there because it's the only sign capable of standing tall in those places. The only sign capable of transforming conflict into understanding, not on paper, not in theory, but in the moment when everything is on fire and someone needs to be the balancing force. This book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Life of Purpose, addresses exactly that moment. The moment when you begin to understand that your gift is not the harmony you produce, it's the ability to sustain tension without breaking. And there's a huge difference between the two things that's worth exploring in depth, in your own time, with the right tools. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. But then, an unsettling question arises. If Libra has this gift, this training, this rare ability, why does it still seem so difficult? Why hasn't the burden become lighter over time? Because Libra was trained to feel both sides, but never learned to choose one for herself. Imagine a surgeon trained on the battlefield. She learned to operate under pressure, without resources, with no margin for error. She developed a skill that no classroom could provide, but no one ever taught her to sit, breathe, and tend to her own wounds. She knows how to save others. She wasn't trained to recognize when she herself needs attention. Libra is in that position. All the capacity for discernment, all the sensitivity honed by trials, all the ability to understand what others need, it was developed outward, toward the balance of the environment, toward the harmony of relationships, toward the comfort of those around. And in the process, Libra silently accumulated a debt to itself. The question no one asks Libra, but that Libra needs to start asking themselves, what do you need when no one is looking? That's the blind spot, not a lack of sensitivity. Libra has excessive sensitivity. It's punish, but to build, to forge, under pressure and in fire, exactly the person who was needed for that specific role. Imagine a lighthouse. It wasn't built on a rock battered by the sea due to an engineer's carelessness. It was built there precisely because that's where ships need light. At the most dangerous, most difficult, most wind-battered point, that's where the light needs to be strongest, most reliable, most present. The lighthouse isn't on that rock despite the waves. It's there because of them. Libra was placed in the most difficult places because it is the only sign that can be a light in those places. Not the light that shines when everything is going well, the light that remains when everything is falling apart. That's the difference. And that's the answer to the question that opened this video. Why did God give Libra the most difficult trials? Because Libra was the only being capable of transforming those trials into something useful, into something that illuminates, into something that guides others when they themselves cannot find their way. This is no small thing. It's everything. The divine path that guides your zodiac sign towards a life of purpose exists for the moment when you understand this and need something concrete to do with that understanding. For when recognition isn't enough and you need a real path from the inside out, each sign has a specific purpose, and Libra has the most demanding of all. To be just in an unjust world, to be balanced in a chaotic world, to be light precisely where the darkness is densest. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey toward the clarity and genius you deserve. And so, after everything that has been revealed, the question that remains is not, why so much weight? We already know the answer. The question that remains is different. A gentler one, more intimate. When was the last time you gave yourself the same patience you give to others? Because Libra has a pattern that no one has taught her to recognize. The perfection she demands of herself is proportional to the tolerance she offers to the world. She accepts in others what she doesn't accept in herself. She forgives in others what she harbors resentment towards herself. You give others time to grow, and you don't give yourself even a day of rest without guilt. This has a name, and it's not a virtue. It's a protective mechanism that has become a prison. Libra learned, at some point during its trials, that it was safer to be the caregiver than the one who needed care. That it was easier to be the balance of the environment than to admit that it was unbalanced inside. And this lesson, which once served to survive, is now preventing it from truly living. The tree that grew crooked against the wind for years survived. It is strong, it stands, but it grew in a direction that wasn't its own. When the wind stops, when the ordeal ceases, when the environment finally gives way, it can finally begin to grow upward. But to do so, it first needs to realize that the wind has stopped and that it is allowed to stop bending. Libra is allowed to stop bowing. You are allowed to be weighed down by your own pain without needing to already have the answer. You are allowed to not know the balance of a situation, to be in the midst of chaos without immediately trying to fix it. You are allowed to be for a moment simply human. Not the arbiter of balance, not the mediator, not the one who understands both sides, only her. And it is in this space, in this rare space of not carrying the weight of the world, that she will find the truest version of herself. The one that trials have been building all along, but which never had enough silence to emerge. There is something God knew about Libra that Libra is still discovering. That the scales it carries are not eternal. That there is a moment, after all the trials, after all the calibration, after all the pain that built discernment, when the scales can be put down. Not because Libra failed, because it delivered. Because those who were built to maintain the balance of others need, at some point, to return to their own center. And this center is not a place found from the outside in. It's a place you discover when you stop looking to others for validation that you're doing the right thing. Look back at every trial that seemed unfair, at every impossible choice that had no good outcome, at every time you were placed in the middle of a conflict that wasn't yours, and yet you stayed, because you knew instinctively that's where you needed to be. Now look where you are, more whole than she ever imagined she could be, more capable than I thought, with an understanding of human nature that most people spend a lifetime trying to develop.